What's up, everybody? My name is Del. This is Del on Movies. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you've been here before, thanks for hanging out with me again. And today I've got a video that came about because I was watching another YouTube channel. I was watching John of Pladex 2, and he did a video where he shared all of his King Kong and Godzilla movies. And I decided that I was going to do that. I told him in the comment section of his video, and I'll leave a link in the description to it. I told him that I was going to steal that idea. He said, go for it. However, you know me, if I'm going to steal an idea, I'm at least going to try to build on it a little bit. So what I did is, or what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to share all of the Kaiju movies in my collection. And for me, Kaiju is just very loosely defined as giant monsters. And so there are some movies here that some people, purists or Kaiju purists, might say, oh, that's not really, that doesn't qualify. It qualifies for me. It counts. That's what we're going with. And I'm going to start with these movies that do not have King Kong or Godzilla in them at all. The first one is actually a superhero movie. And this one, the giant monster shows up at the end of the movie, in the third act, really. And it is a gloriously large starfish. And of course, I'm talking about the Suicide Squad, which is the good one for anybody who is wondering, not the one that came out a few years back. Next movie is about a giant robot. Of course, everybody thinks it's a monster and they're afraid of it, but turns out to be the good guy. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen this movie already, but it is the Iron Giant. Again, I said loosely, so don't hurt me too bad in the comments, though. I think this is a kaiju movie. The Iron Giant is excellent, though, so definitely check out this one if you haven't seen it. I don't know what you've been doing. I've got another family flick, another animated movie coming up next, and this one is Monsters versus Aliens. Very underrated movie, and in this case, our kaiju is this woman right here in the middle. She just grows to the freakish height of about 50 feet tall to, make a play on the 50-foot woman. So this is a pretty good spoof of 50s horror is what's happening here, and I really enjoy this one. The next movie is a lot more traditional kaiju, and believe it or not, I haven't seen this movie in years and years and years, but I am definitely need to rewatch it, and that is Mothra. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've seen this movie, and I'm definitely looking forward to rewatching it again. I do like that this is a very cool steelbook. We got that as the title. We take the slipcover off, and we just left with the Mothra. So very cool. Next is one where we don't see much of the monster as much as in these other movies, because this is a found footage film and we get a lot of shaky cam, and there are a few good shots of the monster and it looks awesome, and that's Cloverfield. So it's one of my favorite found footage films of all time. Next up is one of the more recent ones in my collection, and this one is the first Pacific Rim. And let's see if we can get it showing up. It is a lenticular. See how if that shows up pretty good. And I don't have the second one. I'm not a fan of the second one, but again, if I come across it for cheap, I will snatch it up. Next up is a trilogy. I don't think I have any of these. I have seen any of these movies, surprisingly. I saw ones, I think, that came out when I was really young. These are not those movies. This is the Gamera trilogy. Gamera 1, 2, and 3, as you can see here on the back, if I get my fat fingers out of the way. Yeah, I haven't seen any of these. I'm surprised, shocked. So I will definitely get to checking these out and report back to you, because I do like kaiju flicks. Obviously, I got so many here. Now we're going to get into the two stars, King Kong and Godzilla. And let's go ahead and start way back with King Kong, since he was around way before Godzilla. And that is this DVD box set here. And this is the King Kong collection. And in it, you have the original King Kong. And you have Son of Kong, which I haven't seen Son of Kong since I was a kid. and Mighty Joe Young, the same thing. I haven't seen that since I was a kid, but I have seen the original King Kong recently, and the special effects are amazing for the 1930s. They really hold up against movies that came out even 30 years later. So if you haven't seen it, just take a look at it. And if you're looking through modern eyes, oh, that looks terrible, but think about when it was released in the 1930s, and you'll gain a more better appreciation for it. In those 1960s was another King Kong movie, and this one does feature his co-star, King Kong versus Godzilla. This was the one that came out in the 60s. I want to say 68, somewhere in that area. And these really two guys in a suit, but it is so much fun. Lots of miniatures. They get to destroy lots of miniature cities and each other. And it's just a fun watch. I must have seen this movie 20 times at least, mostly when I was a kid, but I watched it recently a couple years ago and still had a blast with it. Next one, we move into the 70s. We got a remake of King Kong, kind of a reimagining or rebooting. Not a rebooting, maybe a reimagining, because we just switched the story just a little bit, and we get the 1976 version of King Kong with Jessica Lange in it. And it's a goofy, fun movie. They had some issues with Kong himself, but it is a fun time. Next is what I consider to be the best King Kong movie, and that is Peter Jackson's version of the story from 2005. And this is one I probably will upgrade to 4K. I should have already, but really good movie. Next is actually my favorite King Kong. Peter Jackson's King Kong, I think, is the best, but my favorite of the bunch is the Kong entry into the MonsterVerse, I guess they're calling it that, and that is Kong Skull Island. This is just a blast from start to finish, and Kong looks amazing in this movie and does lots of amazing things. So I really enjoy this one more than any other of the Kong movies. Next is a movie a lot of you hated, but I didn't think it was that bad. I enjoyed it, had a good time, and that is the second version of the two titans coming to fight each other, and that's Godzilla versus Kong. And again, the CGI here was fantastic. It was just a really good looking movie, and I had a good time with it overall. It's got its problems, but I had a pretty good time with it. And now that's a good place as any to switch over to Godzilla. And of course, this starts with Godzilla of 2014. Most of you thought I was going to start somewhere else, but I didn't. I started with this movie, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like this movie. It's a 2-hour movie, and we get Godzilla for less than I think like 11 or 12 minutes is what I heard. Definitely less than 20, and a lot of times the movie kind of goes out of his way not to show Godzilla. Like, there's a big fight where he's getting ready to fight, and we follow the humans running away, and the door closes behind them as the two monsters are getting ready to engage one another. And that was a scene that was horrible. And there's some other, he's way off in the distance in some other ones. And the human characters are not good. So I don't really like this movie. Next, the missing movie, by the way, is Godzilla King of Monsters, and I just haven't come across that for cheap enough, and I'm not a big fan of that one either. It's got tons of action in this one with just a lot of monsters fighting each other. The problem was the way it was shot. It was just so dark and murky for me. I really didn't enjoy the movie. I went to theaters to see that one, and it just looked like they shot everything through a black gauze, and the characters were never anywhere near the camera. They were like way far off, and the only time you could see anything was when, a few times we get lightning strikes, and yeah, it was not an enjoyable experience. And I wanted to love it so much because there was so much monster fighting in that movie. But regardless, it is actually not here. Let's talk about what is here, and these are all of my Godzilla movies, all the rest of my Godzilla movies all together. And they are in this giant set. I'm going to back up a little bit, guys. And of course, this is the Criterion Godzilla set. Spine number 1000 for all you spine folks. All you spine folks. I'm not one of those spine folks. But this set is an amazing set. And I've shown it off several times, and I love showing it off. That's the back, which I never really do show off. I've shown off the inside a few times, but just for anybody who hasn't seen it, that's just the, we get this inside artwork here, and I'm gonna move that because that's just a card that was in there. And you get, so you get all these, you get articles and artwork on just about every page. And then at the back we get all the disc in here. So just an amazing set. Probably my favorite, or one of my favorite things in the collection for sure, in my whole collection. But that's all of the Kaiju movies that I have. Let me know what you guys have. What am I missing? Do I need to pick anything up? There's lots of movies out there that I probably need to pick up. So let me know what you think I need to get. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. And that's all I have for you on this one. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.